Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. According to historical records, on August 22, 1861, the Qianlong Emperor passed away at the age of 31 in Rihe, and the throne was inherited by his 6-year-old son, Zichuan. Due to Zichuan's young age, his biological mother, the consort Yi, was in her prime and feared she would interfere in state affairs. Before his death, Su Han had suggested to the Qianlong Emperor to follow the example of Emperor Wu of Han, proposing that he execute consort Yi to ensure Zichuan's power would not be influenced by his mother. When this news reached consort Yi, it naturally caused her great panic. She realized that only by striving for power herself could she secure her fate and avoid becoming a victim of others' machinations. In the days that followed, consort Yi constantly wept before the Qianlong Emperor, claiming that if he passed away, she and her son would be left helpless and alone, shedding tears profusely. Seeing his beloved consort and young son in such sorrow, the Qianlong Emperor ultimately could not bear it and rejected Sushuan's proposal. This decision drastically changed Cixi's fate and affected the fortunes of the Qing dynasty. From then on, consort Yi harbored deep resentment toward Su Han, leading to a power struggle between Cixi and Su Han, which marked the beginning of Cixi's half-century of rule. Some historians analyze that the Qianlong Emperor's unwillingness to execute consort Yi stemmed partly from his feelings for her and concern that their child might be bullied. Additionally, there were political considerations. He hoped that the two Empress Dowagers could assist the young prince to prevent the regents from gaining too much power. It is worth noting that although photographs of Cixi during her lifetime often showed her as wrinkled and unappealing, and her background was not noble, she managed to secure her position in the palace. According to relevant historical scholars, Cixi, born Yahenra, was born on November 29, 1835, into a Manchu 8 banners family with 2 brothers and a sister. At the age of 14, she was arrested by Emperor Daoguang due to her grandfather's involvement in a treasury embezzlement case. In a moment of panic, her family managed to secure her grandfather's rescue with her help. In 1852, at the age of 17, she was selected to enter the palace as one of Qianlong Emperor's numerous consorts, marking the start of her court intrigue career. Initially titled Lady Lan, her low rank made it difficult to approach the emperor. However, she was promoted to consort Yi just a year later and elevated again 3 years afterward, ultimately being granted the title of consort Yi upon the birth of her son at the age of 22. In just a few years, she rose from a lowly concubine to the second highest position in the Imperial Harem, demonstrating her significance in the Qianlong Emperor's eyes. Despite Cixi's father, Yahenra Huizheng, having served as a governor, he had been dismissed and passed away before she entered the palace. Thus, her favor relied primarily on her own abilities rather than her family background. In the Qianlong Emperor's harem, women's statuses were generally low, with the Qing dynasty mandating that banner women participate in the selection process every 3 years between the ages of 13 and 17. Even if selected, the hierarchical structure of the harem meant that many concubines often failed to win the emperor's favor and became resentful women. To succeed in the harem, one needed skills and cunning. Historical records indicate that the Qianlong Emperor was known for his fondness for beauty. Although he died after just 11 years of reign, the number of beauties in his harem rivaled that of the Qianlong Emperor, who lived to 89. Legend has it that the Qianlong Emperor was particularly fond of a beautiful widow from Shaanxi and secretly hid some beauties in the old summer palace. To stand out among the many concubines, the young Empress Dowager Cixi first needed to possess beauty. According to existing memoirs, Cixi was a standout in both appearance and cunning within the imperial harem. In her youth, she was strikingly graceful and often boasted that the others in the palace envied her beauty. Cixi's lady-in-waiting, De Ling, described her in a book. The Empress Dowager was truly a beauty in her youth, and even in old age, she retained some of her captivating charm. The American painter Carl also described Cixi as having a slender figure, delicate and graceful hands, glossy black hair, and a harmonious and beautiful face. Despite being 69 years old, she still appeared to be a beautiful middle-aged woman of about 40. This shows that Cixi's elegance in her old age still surpassed her peers, and in her youth. She was undoubtedly one of the beauties of the harem. She was also skilled at maintaining her looks, using her own concocted beauty powders to make her skin appear smooth and radiant, full of feminine charm and allure. To preserve her appearance, she drank zhu xiang lu daily, applied egg whites to her face, and even bathed in human milk to keep her skin soft as that of a newborn baby. Moreover, it is important to note that Cixi did not solely focus on her appearance. She also devoted herself to studying historical texts and reading extensively, as she deeply understood a crucial truth: relying solely on beauty to please others can only yield temporary benefits. Thus, Cixi's prominence in the harem relied not only on her looks but also on her three masterful strategies. First, she practiced restraint and knew how to seize opportunities. Historical records indicate that Cixi suffered from severe menstrual pain in her youth, experiencing unbearable agony every month. After entering the palace, this condition worsened, often leaving her rolling on the floor in pain. At that time, as a noblewoman, she did not have the authority to summon a royal physician directly. To request one, she needed approval from the empress or the emperor before a doctor could enter the palace to treat her. Although Cixi had a good relationship with Empress Qian, she did not seek her help. Rumor has it that Cixi feared her privacy might be exposed or ridiculed, so even in excruciating pain, she chose to endure silently. It wasn't until she heard that menstrual pain could affect fertility that she finally couldn't bear it any longer. On one occasion, while attending to the emperor, she noticed that Qianlong was in a good mood and mentioned her hope that a physician could treat her. Without much thought, Qianlong agreed. Under the careful treatment of the physician, Cixi's menstrual pain improved, and she successfully became pregnant. In 1856, she gave birth to her son Zaichun, which elevated her status in the harem above that of the empress. This experience showcased Cixi's ability to endure and seize opportunities. As recorded in the Chronicles of Cixi, she won Qianlong's favor through her intelligence and cunning. Although Qianlong was fond of beauty, he was far less prolific in fathering children than his ancestors. Among the Qing emperors, Yongzheng, who had 14 children, was considered somewhat few, while Qianlong had only 2 sons and 1 daughter in his lifetime, one of whom died young. The only surviving and favored son was born to Cixi, which further enhanced her status, allowing her to rise from concubine to noble consort. After Qianlong's death, Cixi became the Empress Dowager and entered a period of regency lasting 48 years during the young son, strong mother phase. Understanding the emperor's mind. Cixi was a person with a strong sense of self-awareness. She understood that to survive and maintain favor in the palace, it was not only necessary to please the emperor but also to pay attention to those around her. She regarded the emperor as a deity, handling matters with caution while adeptly winning over those nearby. Historical records show that besides his fondness for beautiful women, Emperor Qianlong had another vice: drinking. Whenever he got drunk, he often resorted to violence, hitting palace maids, eunuchs, and concubines alike, but Cixi never faced such treatment. This was largely because she knew how to cater to the emperor's thoughts and had premeditated responses ready. Cixi was also well versed in southern opera and knew that Qianlong enjoyed listening to it. Whenever he visited her palace, she would sing a piece of southern opera for him. How could such attentiveness not capture the emperor's heart? Over time, Qianlong became increasingly infatuated with Cixi's gentleness, even neglecting state affairs. Sources indicate that Qianlong often disregarded governance, seeking pleasure in Cixi's palace. Empress Dowager Qian, observing this, was very dissatisfied and even kneeled outside the palace, reciting ancestral teachings to urge Qianlong to attend court. Subsequently, Cixi was punished with a beating for bewitching the emperor, which indirectly reflects her cunning methods, able to make Xianfeng neglect the empire. Cixi not only understood the emperor's mind but also worked hard to win over Empress Dowager Cixi. Qian entered the palace alongside her and was quickly promoted to empress within 2 months. Qian, of noble birth and with a forgiving nature, was favored by both the Empress Dowager and Xianfeng. Faced with this rival, Cixi showed no hostility. Instead, she tried to please Qian, even entrusting her young son, Zai Chun, to Qian's care. Although Qian never bore children, this gesture deeply moved her, prompting her to speak favorably of Cixi in front of Xianfeng. As a result, Cixi gained even more favor with the emperor. Additionally, Cixi was skilled at observing the situation around her and cleverly employed a combination of rewards and threats to win people's hearts. Historical accounts describe her as clever and shrewd, indicating that while she was intelligent, she was far from merciful. She was generous with money to those useful to her, particularly the eunuchs and maids around Xianfeng, allowing her to keep track of the emperor's every move. However, Cixi showed no mercy toward those who posed a threat to her. As a noble concubine, she once bribed palace maids and eunuchs to frame the favored Mei Guiran, leading Xianfeng to believe that Mei had poisoned the snacks she sent him. Consequently, Mei was demoted to a lesser status and eventually became a maid. Soon after, Cixi employed similar tactics to frame Yunpin, resulting in her being sent to the cold palace, where she sadly passed away. As described in The Song of Everlasting Regret, the spring night is short, and the day soon rises. From then on, the monarch does not attend court early. Thus, Cixi took another significant step toward monopolizing the emperor's affections. Thirdly, she was skilled in literary arts, alleviating the emperor's worries and troubles. Born into an official family, Cixi was bright and eager to learn from a young age. Not only did she read historical texts extensively, but she was also fluent in both Manchu and Han languages. It is said that by the age of 16, she had already memorized the 5 classics and was well versed in Manchu writing, having browsed through the 24 histories. After entering the palace, Cixi used her beauty to attract Emperor Xianfeng, while also devising various ways to win his favor. Her talents eventually came into play. Emperor Xianfeng was frail and often ailing, and his indulgent lifestyle took a toll on his health. Sometimes, even reading memorials was a struggle for him, yet he faced a daily influx of them. What could he do? Knowing that Cixi had excellent calligraphy skills, he instructed her to review the memorials on his behalf. Every day, Concubine E would timely visit the emperor's sleeping quarters to assist him in this task. This was a case of unintentionally planting willows that grow into shade, planting a seed of desire for power in Cixi's heart. According to Cixi's memoirs, the emperor found Empress Yi's calligraphy graceful and often ordered her to review the memorials. Later, the emperor only needed to dictate, and Empress Yi would handle the reviews. In 1860, following the outbreak of the Second Opium War, Cixi provided significant help to Xianfeng. When the Anglo-French forces captured Tianjin, Xianfeng panicked and was at a loss, even crying in the palace with his concubines. Only Cixi remained unafraid, suggesting that he summon Prince Gong, Xian, to discuss countermeasures. "There's no use in weeping. Prince Gong is clear-headed, he should be summoned to strategize." Subsequently, after Xianfeng entrusted the Forbidden City to Prince Gong, he fled to Rihe with his concubines and son. Before leaving, Cixi fervently urged him to stay and maintain order, arguing that his presence in the capital would deter the foreign invaders. If he left, the ancestral temple would be without a ruler, and the Forbidden City might be destroyed by the foreigners. Crises test one's character. In the face of great change, Emperor Xianfeng's cowardice and indecisiveness were laid bare, while Cixi's calmness and decisive actions showcased her exceptional nature. However, Cixi's boldness, political acumen, and ambitious nature quickly aroused the jealousy of the emperor and the ministers. In 1861, before his death, Qianlong did not heed Su Shan's suggestion to eliminate Cixi. But to protect Empress Dowager Cixi, he left behind a decree to prevent Cixi from meddling in politics in the future. The decree essentially stated, if Cixi remained in the inner palace, it would be fine, but if she sought to interfere in politics, she would be executed according to this decree. Initially, Qian was wary of Cixi, but after being deceived by her feigned politeness for a while, she not only disregarded the decree but also publicly destroyed it in front of Cixi. From then on, Cixi's political ambitions knew no bounds. This shows that Cixi's rise from a lowly concubine to the most favored consort in the harem was not merely due to her beauty, but also her remarkable talents and ability to seize opportunities. Timing is everything, it's a divine opportunity. Unfortunately, while Cixi was a master of palace intrigue, she lived extravagantly and was addicted to entertainment. Politically, she was a ruthless dictator with a strong desire for power, known for her authoritarian ways. In a time of internal strife and external threats, with Cixi holding power in this manner and disallowing dissenting voices, disaster was inevitable. Therefore, whether it was the early death of the Tongji emperor or the eventual fall of the Qing dynasty, Cixi could not escape blame, according to some historians. Overall, Cixi was favored not only for her outstanding beauty but also for her unique charm and exceptional talents. In that era, a woman well versed in history was already considered educated, as most women were illiterate, like Empress Qian, who was nearly illiterate herself. Coupled with Qianfeng's focus on beautiful women rather than state affairs, Cixi was able to wield power for nearly 50 years, ultimately leading the Qing dynasty to the brink of collapse. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.